How y'all doing? This is gssixgun once again, up here in the shaved end doing some honing demos. We're going to start with a couple of tricks that I left out a lot of the other honing videos I've done. This is a really nice case. It's actually called Preparedness. It is a case XX out of Bradford, Pennsylvania. Now this one I just got done restoring. So the edge is a little bit rough, and I wanted to show you some tricks about honing these razors after they've been restored. This came off of buffing wheels, so the edge is a little bit ragged. I always use one layer of tape when I'm honing. It's been discussed too many times, so it comes down to, if that's what you want to do, you go right ahead. I started restoring a long time ago, and I've never seen any point to go ahead and polish up the razor and make it look perfect and then stick hone wear back on the spine. So I always use one layer of tape. That's up to you. I'm going to start off by setting the bevel. This is a Chaucera, Naniwa Chaucera 1K. This is the green brick, as it's sometimes called. It's a big, huge 1K stone. Super fast cutter, really smooth cutter too. This is a DMT 325, well worn. It's probably my most used stone there is in my den. I usually do about 5 or so figure eights, cut the corners real fast, and build up a little slurry. You don't have to, it's just a habit I've gotten into. We're going to cut the bevel on this, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks for doing restored razors. We're going to start with the 20 circles to sharp that Lynn taught all of us, and basically you just do about 20 circles. I don't really count. I go one time down the stone, which I have found that the most I can do is about 40 circles. I'm just looking for a feel as I do this, but it's about 20 circles down the stone. And then you're going to go about 20 circles back up the stone. And I'm using a fair amount of pressure on this. Right now all I'm doing is cutting in the bevel. Like I said, this razor has been restored, so it has no bevel. In fact, the edge on this is rather ragged. So that's another trick I'm going to show you. There is a technique, many people make a mistake and call it bread knifing. You can kill the edge, you can bread knife it, you can downstroke it. I don't actually downstroke. I use the corner of the stone. If you actually look on a lot of the old vintage stones, you're going to see cuts in the corners of the stones. That's what they were doing right here. And I did very little pressure, about the same kind of pressure as you use on your thumbnail test. I'm going to do 2 or 3 heel to toe cuts like that. I'm going to check, make sure the thumbnail test is absolutely dead. What that does is it kind of smooths up that edge. Then I'm going to do 20 circles again. Notice I left the slurry on there. "20 back. Like I said, it's about 20. And if you notice, I do 1 X stroke there. Okay. The edge got sharp again, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same technique one more time. What I'm doing is, like I said, this razor came out of restore, and especially these really super fine hollow grinds, they have a tendency to get rather ragged after they've been on the buffers a little bit. I'm going to do 20 light, because we didn't lose the edge totally like I did the first time I did that. What I'm doing is I'm feeling for rough spots as I go back and forth. Light back. Okay, now what I should have is very, very nice, even, pretty sharp bevel already. And what I'm checking for right now is to make sure it's even. You can't really see that. I can't move the camera, I'm sorry. Nice little 30X that I got from Widget Supply. It's actually got a little light on it, so it really makes it nice. I'm going to check to make sure I don't have any. There was some pitting on this razor, so I want to make sure I get all the pits out of the edge. I see one still in the edge. Yeah, one pit showing on one side of the razor, which means that it's not really through it. So we're going to try and take that out. And a little bit of Japanese honing there. You can do the circles, you can do Japanese honing. I find the Japanese honing styles, I can really pick and choose where I want to push it. There's a few X strokes right here with some pressure. A little bit of Japanese honing again. I'm going to push that heel just a touch because the heel bevel was lacking slightly. Then I'm going to check and see how even up I am, which is pretty darn good. Once again, I'll check to make sure that I got rid of that little pit that was still in the edge. And that is gone now too. Underneath the light I can see it's got a tiny little bit of a wire edge. So once again, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to hone it in. Now I've dropped the pressure quite a bit compared to what I was doing just before to bring the bevel in. I'm going to go about 5 dip, 5 X strokes. And about 5 more straight back and forth. Just a slight heel forward cant to the razor. And do 5 more X strokes. And what I'm doing right now is I'm really feeling for rough spots, which there's one right here. This is where I feel it. So I'm going to push that a touch. Right there, I'm going to slide my thumb down there and I'm going to give it a little push. Now I'm not feeling it anymore. Everything feels nice and even. Now I would continue to do these X strokes until everything feels really nice and even. But since it did, I'm going to clear it off and I'm going to go about 5 X strokes. Really super perfect. Really super light. And I don't know whether you guys have already noticed, in some of the other videos people made comment on it. When I'm using 2 hands, I flip the razor the wrong way. When I'm using 1 hand, I flip the razor the right way. So try and learn how to do it correctly and flip the razor over on the spine like that. If you can really learn how to flip and move just the same way you're doing when you're stropping it, it's great. I've been doing it wrong too long, I guess. But if you learn how to do it on the spine, it's better. What I'm doing is I'm really feeling for rough spots. I'm doing these really super light strokes. I can feel them because it'll make the razor kind of move funny. Okay, we should have a set bevel now, and that's really all it takes to set a bevel if everything's going right. Now, it actually takes less than that if it hasn't been restored like it was, and I'll check it right there, right there, right there, and you can probably kind of hear the hairs popping off my arm. But all I'm doing is checking to make sure that the hair popped. Now after I check it, I've just gotten so weird about it. As soon as I check something, I automatically do just a couple more X strokes to make sure I didn't damage anything. Okay. That time the bevel is already set, so I'm done with the 1K stone. And showed you a couple little tricks on how to even up the edge after restoration, or if it's really rough edge. You just want to make sure you get a nice even edge. Like I said, I just use the corner of the stone. And honestly, if you look at some of the older stones, some of the old cauticles and eschers, you will see where people have done that on their stone, where they've evened up the edge. This is a Chinese, and I'm using this for a reason. The one stone honing that Lynn and I showed you guys quite some time ago, it was pretty well accepted that it would work with eschers and using slurry stones and things like that on the Japanese and the caudicle, of course. But this is considered to be one of the slowest stones out there. Now, this Chinese is the fourth one that I had. I have gone through 4 of these stones. This one is the only one I've kept because it will work very, very, very much like an escher or a Thurungen. It brings up the same type of nice, white, silky smooth slurry. Just takes a little bit longer to create it, but it's still there. Took me a long time to get it flat and even the way I wanted it. One stone honing can be done so simple, and I'm using this stone in particular because everybody considers it to be a very, very slow stone. Everybody's like, oh, you got to do 100, 200 laps to get it to a finishing state. I'm starting with just a little bit of slurry, and I'm just going to do a few sets of circles up and down it. And I'm using medium pressure. Not quite finishing pressure, not quite bevel setting pressure, because where I'm at is in the medium spot where I'm sharpening the razor. And notice I do a couple of long circles and some short circles. Now we're going to come back and just working the slurring in there. Now the one thing about this style of honing, it will work. There is no doubt about it, it will work. But the problem is when I'm honing for other people, this is not real consistent. I can't tell you for sure whether this razor is going to be hitting when I shave it. About, I would say 70-75% of the time it will hit. A little bit of dilution. Where if I walk over to my chest over there and pull out the Naniwas or the Shaptons or the Nortons or the Henkels or any of those hones, without a doubt, 99.9% of the time, this razor will hit and shave just fine. With this system, it's a very good, economical, easy system to use, but you might have to go back and touch it up. So it's not quite as consistent. You have to play with it a little bit. What I'm doing now is I'm kind of getting a feel for the edge. I know the edge is sharp. What I'm doing is polishing it in. So right now I've done about 40 circles. I'm somewhere around 50 laps or so. You know, I'm not sure. I lose count of those circles really easy. But I've gone back and forth 4 times.